Cowboy Show.
Giddy up! Woo!
This is the Cardinal Cowboy Show.
Giddy up! Woo!
Usual suspects, and we got Carter Ethridge, the Cardinal Cowboy, joining myself and Jared Redwine tonight, and we'll be going over some topics. And as far as the Cardinals are concerned, coming off a fruity rough series with the Padres, I'm sure that'll be what we touch on first. Jared's busy in the background performing surgery, it looks like.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're live. We're doing the Cardinals Nation 24/7 live stream on YouTube and on Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. We're just going to bring you live in here to check it out.
Kind of like a good way of testing the Cardinals. You know, we've had some easy opponents, but you go out and you face a team like the Padres, that's really where you're going to get tested. And to come out of there, you know, first time we've been swept by the Padres in quite a long time. What do you guys take with this? We'll start with you guys. Yeah, walks were definitely a killer, and I mean that's kind of been a bugaboo for the Cardinals this season, but not quite to that extreme. You know, what are your thoughts, Andy? That's true. Having an off day today, I think, helps the Cardinals team maybe regroup a little bit. But, you know, what are your thoughts, Brad? I know it was a rough way of going into San Diego. Kind of had high expectations that we'd at least compete a little bit better than what we did.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's important to remember that that's just 3 games out of the season. This isn't the and the other thing though is this isn't the San Diego Padres, right? Their best players were on the COVID list, so we're talking about Hosmer and Tatis Jr. and a couple of the other guys. So I don't really know that there's a lot we can take away from this other than Tony Walker's many people. And then I think the other thing that's frustrating too, and one of the things I noticed is this team goes to Tommy Edmond. It relies heavily on the leadoff hitter, and that's probably something the offense has been missing in the past couple of years. And Edmond has settled into that. But he went cold in this series, and whenever he went cold, then he can't set the table, and the big boppers can't drive him in. So it'd be nice to see Edmond kind of get back, and then also see Goldschmidt kind of start coming back around again.
Yeah. And what about you, Cowboy? What are your thoughts? I know it wasn't a perfect series, but you know, again, it is just 3 games. Not to panic too hard on.
Yeah, it was. I was excited to see them. Going out hot. They just did they just sweep the Rockies right before that, if I recall. And so you're looking at a team that's on fire, but and 3 up on the Brewers at the time. But when it gets down to it, man, they just kind of laid an egg. I think a key moment during the series was Game 1 when they had an opportunity to shut them down, and then they called that hit by pitch. And the guy was actually swinging. The batter was swinging, or did like a half swing, or not even, but enough to where. But he put a good acting job on it. So he acts like, oh, it hit his wrist. I've never seen a ball fly so far. I played a lot of baseball. I've never seen a ball fly so far that hit somebody on the hand or the wrist or wherever it hit them. But they said hit by pitch. They wouldn't review it, and then I think that kind of set the tone. So that run ended up scoring. That gives them their 5th run. If you notice, we came back. We were down 5-4 was the final score of that game. So I was hoping that would energize them for the next game. Well, we all saw what happened in the second game. They completely laid an egg. And then by the time they were going for the final game of the series, they battled back. I believe they were up 2-0, and then they tied it up, and then they went down 4-2, and ended up losing that game. So it was just a disappointing series all around. Good news is, number one, Brewers lost 2 out of 3. So when you go in 3 up, and then they only picked up 1 game, because if they'd have won 2 or won 3 of those, heck, they'd be tied for first with us right now. But because they lost 2 out of the 3, where were they at? Well, they're playing Dodgers, weren't they? Or no, who was that? No, it's the Braves. They were playing the Braves. And the Braves haven't been playing so well so far this season, so that helped out the Cardinals. So that put us in decent position, and so here we are, still 2 up, a day off, and nothing like to pick it up except to play the Pirates, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and to say that we're still sitting in first place, I mean, I don't think you can complain too much. A lot of Cardinal fans will, but the fact that we are in first place and got a day off to kind of shake that series off, and then look forward to coming out. But Jared, you got to see Arenado, hit some home runs. I mean, his bat looked good there. Just unfortunate that we couldn't put together at least 1 win. I know we battled back in the first game, but the last 2 games were pretty brutal.
I'm pretty sure I didn't see that. I think Arenado only hits home runs in Coors Field. You can't hit him away from Coors. Is what I've always heard all these years. So yeah, it was nice to see him still grind through and perform offensively. But yeah, it kind of sucks. We kind of talked about this on our other show, Chris, about how we thought this was going to be a good measuring stick for the Cardinals. So that's what I'm curious on everybody's take is, what you guys thought of this series. We knew it was going to kind of be a playoff atmosphere type situation. It was going to have that kind of feel to it. So now with that being said, we go and we get swept by the Padres. What do you think, Chris? What do you think that means for the Cardinals? Do you think they're going to take a minute, kind of step back and reassess and figure out how to move forward from here, maybe what went wrong in the series? Obviously, loss were a big one.
I'll tell you one thing that I consider is, Matt Carpenter might be a relief pitcher from here on out. That was pretty wild to see, him in the game pitching. I know in our group chat I'd made the comment, just throw Carpenter out there, why not? But that was pretty funny that he was the only Cardinal pitcher in that game not to give up an earned run, so that was pretty wild. Again, I'm not too concerned. I was hoping they would pull it out. In game 1, it looked like they were kind of chipping at the bit there at the end. But, again, it's too early. It's 1 series. It's nothing to panic about. Just, again, glad to see that the Cardinals are in first place. I mean, that's what it's all about. If you can hold down that, I think we're going in the right direction. But walks is definitely going to have to be something that the Cardinals pitching staff needs to address.
Yeah, what about you, Russ? I was going to ask you, what do you think? You think this was kind of a measuring stick series for the Cardinals because they were a little bit on a roll? They held first place in the National League for a minute, and they've been leading the Central, and then come in, and then they hit a roadblock there with the Padres.
Yeah, I think so. I think they kind of woke them up. I think it makes them go back and regroup. I'm glad they had a day off today, even though they're coming up against the Pirates. I'm glad that it was only they had Monday off, and I think they got another day off Thursday, I believe. I think they got 2 days.
Yeah,
off.
we have a 2-game set with the Pirates, and then off, and then the Cubs.
Then the Cubs, so they have some time to regroup. I can't believe Kim and Wainwright will repeat their performances. This is a young bullpen. You got to keep in mind. They gave up a lot of walks too. That's a young bullpen. The only really veteran in the bullpen is Miller, and we know he's not very consistent. So it's a pretty young group of guys. So they got a lot to learn. I guess that's the final point here.
Yeah, what about you, Cowboy? What do you think about this series with the Padres? Are you a little concerned with how the outcome was when we got swept, or do you think it's still, early in the season, we're going to get a second chance at them, and maybe they use this as motivation going forward?
Yeah, I mean, a couple precedents that sets. Number one, later on in the season when you face them again, and Padres are expected to be there. I think that record-wise, we're tied with them. They are behind the Giants over in the West. But, when you face them later, they're going to have that feeling, hey, man, we swept these guys earlier, and especially it's been 10 years. We talked about it's been 10 years since the Padres actually have swept the Cardinals. So it just sets a bad precedent. I think Schilt does a good job of managing his guys. You come into the season was kind of up and down. At one point, we were in last place for like a game or two, and now we're within 3 or 4 days, and everybody was within a game or two of each other, and then we're back at the top. Now that proved that we can get there. The real question is, can we sustain that? And it looks like they've maintained that. A lot of the experts talk about you really don't have a sample to make a judgment like that until you've been about a quarter of the way through the season, which is about where we're at. So hopefully they can pull this out, because I think they're going to see the Padres again later on in the postseason. We got beat by them last year, but we didn't have quite the squad we have this year at Arenado, and when Hicks comes back in time, I think we could be a real contender and could certainly win our division, but hopefully win the National League.
Yeah, no, that's good input. And we'll now swing over to the guy that he can do this all day, Captain America himself, Brad Range. Brad, what did you think of the Padres series, and most of all that Machado slide where we just found that he recently got suspended over? What were your thoughts on the series and that play in particular?
Well, I don't put too much stock in a 3-game series as far as a measurement on how you're doing on the season. All that can change. We saw that in, 2019, whenever we played the Nationals. I mean, I think we wrecked their shop, most of the regular season. And when we got in the postseason, they killed us. They absolutely bowled us over. So it's not really too much concern for me as far as that goes. I'd like to see more consistency out of the team. I think that when they're hot, they're really hot. But I think whenever they go cold, they go really cold. And I don't like that. That bodes poorly for a playoff run. But as far as the Machado slide, I'm a little bit surprised he got suspended. I saw that. I wasn't outraged. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? I mean, it's Manny Machado, so he has a history of doing these sort of things. So I didn't think it was anything particularly egregious on his part. But he got a 5-day, 5-game suspension? Is that what it just came out with?
Yeah, 5 games, and he said he'd do it again.
I'm not surprised he would say that either. I think the way you beat this Padres team is you keep them down emotionally. They run on fire, and if they don't have emotional fire, they don't play well. And we saw that last year in the playoffs. They were a dead team until they hit that home run, and I think it was Tatis got to fire up his bench, and then after that it was just all downhill from there. So if you can keep them inside the park and keep them emotionally quiet, they're not a dynamo team. They're very, and it's weird to say that about a professional baseball team, but they run on emotion. So as far as the Cardinals go, I think Michaelis will be back by his spot in the rotation. So I'm kind of curious to see where it goes from here. Miles Michaelis tends to pound the strike zone. He's a good influence for young pitchers that might help them out. I would like to see the pitchers stop picking and start attacking. I don't think that this is a matter of ability. I think they're just trying to be too fine. So I'd like to see them attack hitters, go inside, go high, go low and away, work it, change speeds and that sort of thing. So I'm not too concerned with it. I don't use it, like I said, I don't put too much of a measuring stick in this. I'm actually pretty pleased with where the team was, because I know in the off season I said this team was more than just one player away, referring to a Nolan Arenado, but they look a lot better and a lot more formidable this year with him in the lineup. And I guess it just gave everybody else confidence, because a lot of the other guys are playing a lot better.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Brad. And Andy, what do you think? Coming to you now, you're sitting, right up next to the Wall of Fame underneath Busch Stadium there on the way back through the tunnel, it looks like. What do you think of this series? I mean, the Padres, obviously, they gave out a lot of walks. You can't do that to a young, hungry team like this. We can't give these guys extra chances. That kind of backfired on them in this series. And what are your thoughts? Do you think this is kind of a, we like at least to get one, but, me, I was a little concerned we lost 3 games. I know it's early. But when you start seeing these playoff caliber teams, maybe it's a wake up, and the Cardinals can say next time, "Oh, hey, we weren't really prepared. We weren't ready for it. Next time, we need to be."
Yeah, ultimately, I can give you a long answer, but I'll start with a short answer. It's May 17th. This team's going to look way different in September than how they're playing right now, whether that's better or worse for both squads. I think that just the clutch hitting wasn't there. There's too many walks, and but you can't panic. I mean, like they said earlier, the Padres. He just disappeared. I'll keep going. Padres definitely run on emotion. They're almost like a college football team or basketball team, right? And once that kind of snowball gets going, they're hard to stop. And we saw that last year. But a 3-game sweep in May, and again, it wasn't against. I'd be more concerned if it was the Central Division team. The Reds did that, or the Cubs. They're out west. We don't have to worry about them until the playoffs. So anything can happen. Again, they kind of had our number last year at the end of game 2, or what was it, game 2 or 3, when they kind of started taking over that series. I guess it was game 2 because it's just 3-game series. But I don't think it's anything to panic about. Again, Michael should be back Friday, what I've heard. Start off that Cup series and go from there. But again, I know they're not panicking over 3 games. So as hard as it is not to panic as a fan, you can't. It's a long season. It's not 60 games this year. It's 162. So they'll be all right.
Yeah, no, the Cardinals.
I was still here. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Jared.
Oh no, I was saying sorry. I was still here. I just had to turn off my camera for a minute. So.
I'm gonna say one thing. I think the Cardinals are a better team than what we were last year, but I think the Padres, I'm going to go ahead and assume that we make the playoffs and we end up having to face a team like that. Their pitching is a lot better than what it was last season. So, I mean, they've kind of loaded up and have that all-in type of mentality. The Dodgers have, a stacked team that, it was surprising to me that the Giants were in first place in the division over there. The Dodgers kind of been bit by the injury bug and not being able to hit right now. They've kind of been through a slump. But as far as the National League Central, I'll kind of go around. We've talked, me and Jared and Larry Cox that do our flagship show, we talk about this, every week. We kind of just go over the week that was in Cardinal baseball. And what have you guys, your takeaways so far of what this season, like how you kind of predicted this season to be going as it sits right now? You've got some injuries, with Hicks and Miller, and you see them in the taxi squad called up. We kind of had the outfield of, Justin Williams getting a lot of playing time, and now Harrison Bader's back. What are your concerns and thoughts about the Cardinals as they stand right now in first place on their path? We'll start with you, Russ.
Well, I went into the season concerned about the outfield. I didn't think there was enough bats there they could depend on. I thought, Carlson has worked out. Tyler O'Neill, since he's come back from injury, he's doing great. And even Bader, who I had lost faith as a batter, he's doing really well. So we don't have to depend on Justin Williams and Austin Dean or put Tommy Edmonds out in the outfield. Gold Glove potential second baseman. I thought that was just such a shame when he was having to play right field or something. So I feel good about what I'm seeing from the outfield. And of course, I kind of expected Edmonds is a better second baseman than I thought he would be. I didn't know he would be that good. And even the day he played shortstop this weekend, he looked pretty good there. So the infield's solid. We kind of expected that. So the thing I'm concerned about is getting everyone healthy on the pitching staff. We got to get some. It looks like we've lost Hicks for most of the year. So I'm concerned about how this bullpen shapes out. Right now it's not too bad, but some of those guys aren't going to help out much. Some of the guys they brought up recently, and our left-handed side of the bullpen looks kind of weak right now. I mean, we got Cabrera, and he's doing fairly well, but Miller we just can't depend on, and Webb he looks like he might be in trouble this year. So we're going to have to get some help on the left-handed side of the bullpen from somewhere.
Andy, I'll go with you. I mean, coming into the season, I think all of us had high expectations, especially getting Arenado, that the Cardinals would, be front runners in the division. We might have, a little bit of worry with the Brewers and maybe the Reds. I don't think anybody was concerned too much with Chicago and Pittsburgh being the bottom dwellers. I think that was about how we rounded things out. But, what are your thoughts with some of the injuries going on, then guys stepping up like Tommy Edmond becoming your prototypical leadoff guy, playing great defense, and slotting Carlson in? Just your overall take right now of how the Cardinals are looking.
Yeah, again, like he said, the Cardinals outfield is definitely producing. Carlson looks like a potential rookie of the year. Bader's back; he's getting hits almost every game. And O'Neill, since he came back, he's just crushing home runs, showing off the guns. But I really feel that Tyler O'Neill's expiration date might have hit. It seems like every year he has one or two bad outings, and that really skews his ERA. But normally he's pretty reliable, and I feel like his bad outings are almost outweighing his good outings. Webb has more walks than innings pitched. He has 14 walks and 11 2/3, and that is not going to cut it. It just simply isn't, especially with the way he throws. It's not like he's Cabrera and he's a flamethrower. So I think they're going to need some help in the bullpen, and Hicks going out doesn't help. Reyes has got to cut down on his walks too. Reyes' walks numbers are pretty high. He has like 19 walks in 21 innings. So bullpen just got to get control of it. Again, Reyes has really walked a tight wire for a lot of those saves. He's got out of it every time. But you can't continue to walk guys and think you're going to end up doing high fives with your teammates. But again, Michael's getting healthy. So the starting rotation should work out. I think Flaherty has gotten a lot of run support, so that's really helped. Again, I don't think he's ever going to put up the second half like he did in 19. But he doesn't necessarily have. I mean, he's probably our one. But again, Carlos has been looking better. If you get Carlos back, like we know what Carlos can be, along with Flaherty and a healthy Michaelis, who when he's right is really good. Again, you definitely see how much Dakota Hudson meant to this team. He really would have helped out this year in that rotation. Because again, the broadcasters really seem high on Oviedo, but he has just kind of had mixed results. And you can see there's a lot of tools there, but it's like that sports car that can't get out of the garage, I feel like. So again, Brewers, they got aces stacked on top. I feel like you cannot overlook them. And when you look at Cincinnati's team, again, I know they lost Bauer, but with that offense and some of the pitchers they have, they should be doing better than they are. It's weird how they kind of tread water around 500, but they can't get over the hump. Like you said, Pittsburgh and Chicago, I don't know. I mean, to me, you can't count out Chicago. Chicago will do something stupid with all their stars, and they all get hot, and they'll all think it's 2016, and they won't think it's once every 108 years. But I don't know. Just, I mean, it's still May, and again, like I said, in September, the roster isn't going to look like it is today. They'll make moves. It's just, I think they're also scared of making moves after everything that's happened. I know this is turning a long-winded answer. With all the trades they've made, you don't want to trade the wrong guy, trade the wrong prospect, and, see him hit like Babe Ruth in the World Series like we did last year.
Yeah, and Brad, so right now we're kind of sitting with some injuries. Hicks will obviously be out a while. Michaelis will be returning from his injury. We've got DeYoung on the injured list, where Sosa hasn't really got much playing time, even with DeYoung's low batting average. I know he's leading the team in home runs, but you've got some injuries, and then you got guys that have kind of filled voids. Reyes has been kind of lights out in the closer role for us. I know Jared and I were kind of hoping he would get a chance to start early in the season, but that kind of fell through. What's your opinion on the way this team's kind of shaking out and where they're slotting guys?
Well, I think really, honestly, this team's going to go the way the starting pitching goes. Last I saw, I think that the starting pitching and the bullpen had pitched about the same, or the bullpen has pitched more innings than the starting pitching has. And that's one of the things that actually killed us in this series, right? The starting pitching had bad outings with walks and whatnot. So if we can get our starters to start going 6 innings, 7 innings into a game, then you have less question marks with the bullpen, right? Then you got, what would you put, Gallegos and Reyes at the end. So if you got a starter that can go into the 6th or 7th inning, you've only got to put three guys in there, 1, 2, 3, and then you're done. You're out of the game. Generally, that's how you hope. So I think if they can get the starting pitching sorted, and I think that'll happen when guys like Michaelis come back and take some of the pressure off this bullpen. I think you'll see the bullpen come around. I think they're just a little taxed right now, and that's sad to say on May 17th, that our bullpen is kind of worn down. But, it's early in the season, so they're not worn down. They're just worn out. So you can, with a couple good starts, you can get them some rest and get them back on the right track. And then as far as the outfield goes, I couldn't agree more. I'm pleasantly surprised with the outfield. I always thought with Bader, defense plays. I thought that this team is built around pitching and defense more than anything. And if you look at our infield, you have Gold Glover at third, a Gold Glover at first, a potential Gold Glover at second, and a potential Gold Glover at shortstop. Paul DeYoung came pretty close. And then in the outfield, you have a Gold Glover in left field, a runner-up for a Gold Glove in center. That's a lot of Gold Gloves and potential Gold Gloves on this team. Don't forget the Gold Glove at catcher, right? So the team is built around pitching and defense, and we saw the San Francisco Giants have a lot of success with that. And I think that's the route the Cardinals are trying to go. 4 or 5 runs, hold the team down. But for that to work, the starting pitching is going to have to be there, and that's really kind of the big question mark early on in the year to me. So, but I think they've kind of figured out the order. I think they figured out where guys are going to fit. I think that, Tyler O'Neill has kind of sealed up left field. For a while there, I thought maybe when O'Neill came back that he'd have to battle Justin Williams, but Justin Williams kind of fell off and O'Neill came back hot. So I think O'Neill settled in left. I think Carlson settled in right, and Harrison Bader naturally settled in center. And then the infield is what the infield is, because that's what it's going to be, because those are your good players. So I think that they kind of got it figured out. We're kind of looking at what it's going to be. The only question mark is that starting rotation. What will it be like when Michaelis gets back, and will they be able to find the strike zone?
Cowboy, what's your thoughts? I know, at the beginning of the season, it was like feast or famine with this offense. It was like put up 11 one game and couldn't score for a game or two, and that's kind of been something that's bothered the Cardinals for a couple of years now. But they're starting to get in a little bit of a groove, and pitchers went from not being able to go past 5 to they've had some good outings, and then back again now where it's struggling and taxing the bullpen. What are your thoughts of the way this team's stacking up right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming together. A little bit of a lull here we saw with the Padres. Pitching is always key. I mean, I don't know how many years I played for a team, and we'd have a stacked lineup, but we'd face some team that had one ace pitcher, and that's all they really had, but they could stick up against anybody. So if you can put a good pitching squad on the field, we got a little bit to work on the starters. I think Flaherty, obviously, but if we can get I'm convinced if Martinez can pitch like he had in the past and like we've seen flares of this year, he seems like he's more focused. He's doing a good job, but the pitching is what is really going to hold us through. I remember the Diamondbacks when they had Schilling and Johnson, and they were you were guaranteed 2 wins almost every time, and so then you face those guys twice in either one of those 2 guys or both of them twice in a 7-game series, you're going to win that series. So the Cardinals need a little bit of a pump up from their starting pitching. Their hitting's doing okay. I think DeYoung needs to hit a little bit. I love Carpenter, but I would just if he never batted again, I think we'd be all right. For the Cardinals, gotta love him. I looked him up. He's been around, close to 10 years now in the Cardinals organization, and it just seems like he's lost it. But yeah, it also then depends a lot on who's hot at the right time of year. We saw where the Cardinals in 2006 and 2011 when they're coming in hot, that doesn't really matter. How often do we see the first place or the number 1 team in the league with the best record in the National League or the American League, and they don't even get to the World Series? So if they can get things tuned in, I think Schilt does a good job. He's the only manager in Cardinals history who didn't play professional ball at any level, but he's showing he can keep up. There's only been 2 other managers in the history of professional baseball that have won a championship that didn't play the sport. But it seems Schilling has a good respect of the team. I think something Matheny lacked. We saw Matheny doing well over in Kansas City to start, but now they've kind of fallen off. So the Cardinals are the team from our wonderful state of Missouri here, and if they can keep it in stride without going too hot, but get that pitching on and then get hot towards the end of the year, that's what I think is the key to winning. It's almost gotten to where it's like hockey. who's hot at the end of the year, whether they've done well throughout the season. And I guess it has a lot to do with now where there's 3 and 4 rounds of playoffs. And, you get in that first one, you get in on a wild card selection for a 1-game playoff, and then you pick it up from there. The Cardinals, they just need to get there. And if they can get home field advantage, that does play to their strength. But they do play well on the road, too. So I just like to see them get hot at the right time with some good pitching, I guess would be my summary on that.
Got answers. I kind of agree with all you guys. And Jared, you got something you want to line up?
Yeah, I had to do some switching around. You guys can hear me good, I hope now, or better. Yeah, I just want to run through a couple real quick. Mark Leinberger, he's watching. Randy Nolting, Jody Goldman, William Norman says, "What's up, guys? Hello." Joey Childs, Aaron Maddock, Linda Nowick. I think Bill Lyons. He thinks it's too early to panic, right? With a question mark. Apparently, if you guys don't go to our group every day, it's one loss is panic. The season's over. Trade everyone. Scooter Forrester says, "Go Cardinals." Duffy's watching. Willie Dalton says, "Go Cards." Billy Ray Edmond. Bill Sims is going to predict a sweep of the Pirates. Really going out on a limb there. You should probably head to Vegas. Bill, throw some money down. Let's see. Julie Lube says, "Go Cards." Parker Benya, Guy Huntley. No real questions yet, but you have to.
How quick the fans forget we just went 13-4 over a 17-game stretch.
Mm-hmm. We do definitely have the most spoiled fan base in baseball, and I know we can all agree on that. I mean, yeah, we'd like to come out and win every game too, but some of the fans that, and I'm not trying to dog our fan base, but man, it is where were these fans at in the 90s when we had some rough outings, and if we would have had Facebook and Twitter through some of these rough patches, I cannot imagine, they would be calling for everybody's head. So it's amazing. Now, some of it is justified. I mean, I'm not a proponent of calling a player garbage. Like Matt Carpenter is struggling like crazy. I hate to hear anybody say he's garbage, but I can say that, I do agree with the takes of you batting 100. It's hard to justify having your bat in the lineup. I mean, Chris Carpenter, I think at this point, come out of retirement and have a 100 batting average. But as unfortunate as it is, I mean, it is what it is. We've got him on the team. We joked before that, we have more people on the roster now than what we used to. So it's just pretend that Carpenter's taking that one extra roster spot that we didn't have years ago, where it was just a 25-man roster. I'm a little surprised that Schilt hasn't went to Sosa as much. Nagowski at the beginning of the year, he was tearing it up in spring training. Come up, he did get the injury, but it was like Schilt kind of let his bat go cold, and I was a little surprised there, where I knew they were going to give Carpenter every chance to kind of snap out of the slump, but it's just kind of is what it is.
How much of it do you think is Schilt and Gersh? Kind of like we heard in L.A. with Pujols. Pujols upset with Madden not getting at bats, but it turned out to be more the front office not wanting to play him. How much of that do you think is the maybe the front office, not necessarily Schilt, playing guys?
Jared, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, my opinion is I don't think it's any. I think it's all pretty much Schilt. I think they're letting him do what he wants to do. And Mo and Gersh have always been the kind of guys, especially Mo's the kind of guy that likes to just shy away from that type or that side of the game, I guess. Having a hard time catching up today. But my main question I wanted to ask you guys is thoughts on Pujols with the Dodgers. Obviously, everybody wanted to get him back. Cardinal Cowboy, now he's with the Dodgers. What are your thoughts on El Hombre, the machine? He's playing for L.A. now. Were you wanting him to come back to St. Louis? And did you think a potential reunion was going to be possible?
Yeah, I would have loved to have him back personally. I think he would have brought a lot of excitement to the Cardinals and what we do here. But it's just a tough fit. If you got Goldie there, you got Matt Carpenter who can fill in at second. I guess the argument you could put Pujols at third a little bit, or maybe in left field and hide him out there. But Carpenter's hitting a lot less than and then Pujols is hitting. But Pujols, he did well. He's hit 5 home runs so far, and I think he does fit all right in for what LA is trying to do. I hate to see him go to LA, but the Dodgers do a good job of helping us win the National League Central a lot of times. So maybe he can contribute a little bit over there. But to make that happen again. So I think it's great. I just don't see that he's a fit. I think they will end up doing one of those things like they've done to a number of players in the past where they come back. I saw where Ichiro, I was just looking him up, he went to play for the Mariners for 2 games to finish his career. Right? I think it was supposed to be 1, but it ended up showing up on the stats as 2. I looked at it the other day. So I think he'll come back to the Cardinals as something like that. If not, maybe Carpenter does move out, and you could put him in that kind of position a little bit, but you're going to be struggling a little bit. I guess you got Sosa on the bench to play second base. So it's feasible, but they got some stuff to consider before they can make that kind of move.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see him come back, right, Russ? But you have to think this year with the new CBA agreement, if things go as planned, the designated hitter will be in the National League. So a potential reunion of him coming to St. Louis for a little bit of a farewell tour. If he decides to play next year, and if something can be made, obviously, to make that work, it would be more feasible or more viable, way of making that happen after the new CBA comes into effect next year.
Yeah, I think it's more of a possibility next year if they do get the designated hitter in the National League. What surprised me about Pujols was the fact that nobody. He ended up with the Dodgers. We were all surprised, but I think that's a sign that nobody really wanted him. There weren't that many offers. We kept hearing he wanted to go somewhere since he couldn't play for the Angels every day, or he was just going to be on the bench. He wanted somewhere where he could contribute, but apparently there wasn't anyone who really wanted him that much, even in the American League. So the Dodgers was his best option, and they were desperate for bench help. So I just didn't see how he could fit with the Cardinals this year. We'd all love to see Pujols come back as a Cardinal, finish as a Cardinal, but it just didn't seem like it was a good fit this year for St. Louis. So I really didn't expect the Cardinals to make that much of a push for him, and I don't guess they did.
Yeah, and you also have to think, too, Andy, swinging it over to you, is this year now, a lot of people probably haven't clicked in and realized yet now that Albert has signed with the Dodgers, which in my opinion, I thought he signed with another team relatively quickly. I expected him to be out there on the market for another week or so, but we are going to see Albert back in Busch Stadium this year when the Dodgers come to town, and I think a lot of people probably haven't registered that fact yet. I'm sure Cardinal Cowboy will be in the stands, but what are your thoughts on another? At least we'll get to see him at Busch Stadium one more time, right?
Yeah,
it's coming back in early September, and again, I think Pujols just made the he didn't want to move anywhere. He just chose to live in the same city. It was kind of an easy choice, right? Didn't have to leave LA. I still think there probably were teams after him.
Yeah, I hate moving. I hate moving myself.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have done it all himself. He would have had to pack everything, dishes and all that stuff. Albert he would have had a lot of work to do.
Well, you got to remember when Pujols ended his tenure in St. Louis, there's as many articles about Pujols as there was his wife, Didi. So it'd be silly not to think that old Didi Pujols didn't have something to do with this move as well. So, Pujols had to come back, and, it was kind of cool. Hit that home run on that Saturday game against the Cardinals and off Hudson, and they gave him the standing O, and that was kind of surreal. And that Pujols finish to the bat, it just seemed perfect. And, well, now he'll be back again. And, again, in September, it could be meaningful baseball, I would guess, for both Cardinals and Dodgers. But, again, it's like if we don't have the DH – obviously this year, if we get it next year, it's just like he was off by a year because we could have used him in 19 with the DH, could have used him or 20, could have used him in 22, but he got released in 21, and like everyone just said, it just was not in the cards.
Nice play on words there. Yeah. Brad, what are your thoughts on Albert? I know we wanted to see him come back too. The Cardinal Nation, says we're paying for Fowler, and he was on the Angels till he unfortunately got hurt. We're paying Carp. We're paying, Andrew Miller. He's got this horrible blister on his toe, so he's still in the IL. That they might have to amputate his leg because that blister is so horrible. That was a joke about the amputee. I saw your eyes go up there, Andy.
I've been fine not seeing him pitch anymore.
Is it infection?
It's
Take the leg.
it's such a bad blister. He's been already out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, keep coming up with injuries.
Yeah, we're paying all these guys this money, so a Pujols reunion would have made sense at the major league minimum. The Cardinals could have easily made that money up, with merchandise sales or just extra buzz and fanfare around the stadium. Which your thoughts on Pujols not making it? You think we got another shot next year?
Well, yeah, I think we have a shot next year. I don't think this year was the year. My first thought when I found out he went to the Dodgers is he's not going to look good in Dodger blue. He just won't. He looks good in red, be it Angels red or Cardinals red, but he looks good in red, and Dodger blue just isn't going to work out for him. But you try to stop and think, where would he have fit in with the Cardinals? We had this idea of, I don't know if you guys had this thought, but it's like, yeah, Cardinals sign Albert Pujols at the league minimum, they bring him back, they win the World Series, then Yachty, Waino, and Albert ride off into the sunset, and you close the book on that chapter in Cardinals history, right? And which would have been great. It would have been awesome. But it's not real life. He has to have a spot to fit in this lineup, and I just didn't, at the time he was talking about wanting to start, and playing time was a big issue of why he wanted out of LA. And I didn't see where he was going to get it with the Cardinals. I just didn't see it. You've got a Gold Glover first baseman, a Gold Glover third baseman, Gold Glove left fielder, the three positions we mentioned, and Albert Pujols isn't going to play over all those, which sounds really weird to say, but that's just the way it is at this point in his career. Now, would he have been a valuable bench bat in a mentorship role? Yes, absolutely. But they just didn't have a spot for him, and so to me, he's thought, well, I don't have to move. The LA Dodgers are as good as any team out there right now. I have a chance of winning another ring. I'll just go them, and maybe I can get a couple home runs in there, get closer to that 700 mark, and maybe win a championship. Who knows what'll happen next year? I do agree with Cowboy and the thought that they're going to bring him back, whether it be a one-day contract to retire as a Cardinal, or maybe they get him for a couple games at the end of the year next year or something like that. They'll bring him back. I think he'll be back with the Cardinals to retire. I think that he goes into the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal, but it's just unfortunate that it didn't work out. It would have been cool, but I just didn't see it happening, so I never really got my hopes too high on that, just based on what I was looking at with this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's no spot for him at all. There's not even that mentor role is not really even available when you've got guys like Waino and Yachty, and even Carp to a degree has already said he has accepted that role as being the mentor guy on the bench. So they didn't even really have that spot for him. It would have been nice, but we talked about that also, Chris. Albert playing for someone else just kind of tarnishes his legacy a little bit. It's kind of odd, how, with Waino and Molina at the beginning of the year, they just said wearing a different uniform wouldn't look right. They wouldn't even feel right, even if, Waino was playing for his hometown Braves. He didn't feel like it would look right to him. He wouldn't feel the same. So hopefully, he's able to do a little bit of damage. I don't see him getting a lot of playing time with the Dodgers either, because they don't really have a spot for him. I know he was batting cleanup today for his first game, but unless he just, sets it on fire, which, Albert will be a man determined, Chris. If anyone is going to try to prove people wrong, and he determined to, make them look bad or like they were wrong about him, it's going to be Albert Pujols.
Yeah, as bad as, I don't want to see him in Dodger blue. I mean, at least it's not Cubby blue. It's one of those things where when we heard he got DFA'd, it kind of comes as a shock, the fan inside wants to say, yeah, bring him back. Obviously, at that point, I think he had more home runs than Carpenter had hits. So you thought, well, hey, this isn't going to hurt the team any. When we did have guys like Nagowski up, he wasn't getting much playing time anyway. So I didn't think that bringing Pujols would block any young talent per se. But, at the end of the day, Wainwright and Molina and Arenado all kind of had made comments publicly that I thought maybe they were trying to recruit him. Arenado in a post game was like, hey, you're my favorite player. Yachty goes on Instagram, with the whole holding up each other's jersey. So you think, hey, maybe there's some recruiting going on here. I was surprised to hear, a couple of reporters say that the Cardinals had some interest, and then, a couple of reporters shot that down. Ideally, I would have liked to seen him, show up, but there is the chance that as good as Molina and Wainwright have played this season, I don't think there's any reason to think that either of them are going to want to hang it up this year, unless for some reason we do win a championship. Then they might just say, hey, that, you can't script a better ending. But if we get close and the DH does happen next year, you might have the ultimate farewell and bringing Pujols in where all three announce at the beginning of the season, this is it. I mean, with Pujols, he kind of said today in his interview that he's not going to say whether or not this is it. He's going to wait till the end of the season. Well, guys like him and Molina and Wainwright, I think going into a season, they need to say if this is it. I think they need to kind of get that fan farewell. That would be an ultimate farewell tour. I don't want to see like Molina just hang him up at the end of the season and that be it. I want to see him get his ovations at Busch Stadium. I want to see that. So I was a little let down that Pujols didn't go that route this season, but still cross my fingers that we'll get to see it at some point next year.
If I can add one more thing, I think Pujols is chasing 700. That's why he's not going to want to say it's it. If he ends up at 697, 693, he's going to come back and hit 700. That's what he's chasing. And then the one thing none of us mentioned was no one had Pujols getting released in May, right? If this happens in August, 1,000% he's on the Cardinals because it's a limited thing. But right now they're still trying to figure out, hey, does Carpenter have anything left in the tank? X velocity is this and all this type of stuff. And it didn't make sense to sign him now. But yeah, if this would have happened later in the year, definitely. But again, no one in baseball would have said, oh yeah, Pujols is going to get cut 35 games in the season or whatever it was. So that's I think the biggest thing here.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Andy. We do have a question, and I guess we'll throw that out. Guy Huntley's asking, if Carp doesn't regain the form, it's a good transition because we just saw Albert get released by the Angels. But how long does the Carp, experiment continue with him? He's not playing much, but how long does he continue to hold that spot until the Cardinals finally make a move and do something there? When you see a guy like Albert Pujols can be DFA'd, Matt Carpenter obviously has to be feeling pretty vulnerable himself. What are your thoughts on Carp there, Russ, and how long do you think is left in the hourglass? How much?
Oh, I would say to the trade deadline, maybe at the most. I think they've got to address the bench situation sooner or later. And, it's pretty obvious Carpenter's not going to get. It's probably what he is. He is what he is now. And I think there's no getting around it. And I think they know it. And I just think they're just maybe they're just waiting, for a little more time, and wait for the right moment to make the move. But I think they'll make the move no later than the trade deadline, if not before then. I don't think this is going to go on a season.
Yeah, Chris, do you agree with Russ' assessment on the timeline there for Carp and how much longer this holds on? I mean, the money's already going to be gone, but we haven't really seen, on the flip side of that, we haven't really seen, Schilt utilize the bench much at all unless we've had injuries this year. Guys that have been on the bench, it's not really the Cardinal thing we've seen in the past is a lot of these guys get playing time, at least, one or two starts a week. But most of these bench guys like Nagowski before he got hurt, even Sosa, aren't really seeing much time.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked ad nauseum about, Carpenter and the struggles, and, we get on his case, but we're all pulling for him. I mean, we hate to see him go out there and struggle. What he's meant to the organization, he's done everything that they've asked him to, except for the last 2.5 years hit. He's played every position, but, it's one of those things where spring training, he was struggling mightily. It's started into the season. We thought maybe the month of April, a little bit into May, if this continues, you're just going to have to cut bait. Some people say, well, it's just a slump. Well, this is a 2.5-year slump. Carpenter's not going to just magically get out of it. It looks like when he swings, he's got that hitch in his swing where he's swinging with a broken rib. Hits right into the shift, refuses to lay a bunt down, although he has had a couple this season. It's frustrating because you hate to see that happen to a guy, and Father Time does to catch up to everybody. It's no offense to Carpenter, but it's insanity to keep running a guy out there expecting different results. I don't care what his launch angle is or his exit velocity. I mean, if it goes into somebody's mitt, it's an out. It's not helping the team. And so I could see the trade deadline being like the final straw, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings if it happened before then.
Yeah, Mr. Cowboy, I want to come to you, sir. I got a couple of questions here. The same thing from a couple of guys. Bill Sims and Parker Benya. The Cardinals have played well at Busch Stadium this year after getting swept by the Padres. You think they're going to have something to prove and maybe whooping up on the Pirates, hopefully a little bit, coming into the series that starts tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean the Cardinals have done a good job of keeping themselves in position. They haven't fallen. They've actually kind of rose from the ashes. Their season didn't start off so well, but yeah, to get a shot at a team like the Pirates, it's only a 2-game series, but hopefully it does give the Cardinals enough juice to get things going. Because the last thing you want is to go into facing the Cubs and have not had the fuel tanks lit. Because if you got two of the bottom dwelling teams with the Cubs and the am I on there? There we go. The Cubs and the Cardinals, or the Cubs and the Pirates. Yeah, you're going to end up with a really rough series, and then where you go from there, because those are a couple of the teams that are ranked lower in the league right now. So yeah, let's hopefully we can keep it going here. Again, I don't want them to just blow it out and turn into one of these super hot teams, because they seem to fizzle out before the World Series hits. And so if we can get it to where we're just going to keep it a nice strong stroke while we get into the playoffs, and then run it through the playoffs, that's what I would like to see, and bring home another one of these real soon. So I know it looks bigger on TV. You'd think they'd keep this thing under better surveillance, but I got one here at the house.
I thought maybe you might have snatched that thing with some kind of special event or something.
Yeah, they left the case. They left the case open, so I took it.
Well, they're probably not watching, so you should be safe.
Right.
We got this 5-game series with the Pirates and the Cubs. Hopefully, the office is going to be coming back, Brad. And then next thing you know, we've got a pretty good road trip coming up, and we will be playing the Dodgers. By the way, I just looking at the schedule here at the end of the month on the 31st. We head to LA to play the Dodgers, so we'll be seeing Pujols in less than 2 weeks. Who knows how often he'll be playing? But we played the Cubs and we hit the road for the White Sox, and then out here to Arizona where I'm at. But what are your thoughts there, Brad? Sorry, on the Pirate series and the Cubs. Obviously the Pirates are going to be looked to kind of put a little stopgap and try to show everyone, hey, we're still the team that we are. And then the Cubs obviously gives them usually a little more extra oomph, and the stadium will have more fans in it whenever the Cubs come to town.
So what I think will happen, or what needs to happen, because I think what needs to happen is they need to have a bounce back series. They need to have a strong showing against the Pirates. When I say a strong showing, I mean not come back and win a game, in the 7th or 8th when they're getting down or whatever. I think that they need to take control of the games from the beginning, put together good at-bats, get the lead, and keep the lead. And it'd be nice to see them sweep. If they don't sweep, so be it. But it'd be nice to see at least 2 wins on this bounce back, if not 3. And then I think you got to go and remind the Baby Bears that they are the Baby Bears. I think you got to spank them, I think you've got the Cubbies at a point where you could put their season in a tailspin. If you go out there and you hammer them now, that might be enough to make the front office and all that start thinking about rebuild and all that other fun stuff, all those other fun words that come out there. Because that window closed on that team, or is closing on that team faster than I think a lot of people realized it would. So what do I think they need to do? I think they need to win both series. I think they need to win at least 2 in each, maybe 3 in one of them. Right? They got 3 against
2 against Pirates, quick 2-game set.
2. Okay. Yeah. So
then
I think they need to. I think they need to sweep the Pirates. I don't think that they can split that. I think they need to get the next 2 games, and then take 2 or 3 against the Cubs. So. That's where I'm at on that. And as far as and I just kind of wanted to touch on Matt Carpenter a little bit.
Feel free to. If I don't ask you that same question, feel free to jump in.
I think that he finishes the team a Cardinal. Maybe he finishes on the DL, but I think he finishes the team as a Cardinal. And I'm just kind of curious, because I haven't actually pulled up these stats. How well does he hit compared to the average National League pinch hitter, because let's face it, that's what he's doing right now. That's going to be his role on this team. And if he's you know, in that area, because I know pinch hitting is hard, I think that they're going to keep him. You know, there's more to what he brings to the team than just actually what he does on the field, and he might actually be more valuable as a bench guy. You know, keeping guys' heads in the game, keeping them solid. You know, to have a teammate that you know is struggling, but you watch that guy work through those struggles, is a big learning opportunity for the younger guys on the team. And I think that he offers that. Now, admittedly, I'm a Matt Carpenter honk. I love Matt Carpenter. I said at the beginning of the season that he would be a comeback player of the year for the Cardinals, but it's not looking like that right now. But again, this season's young. And like you guys said, I think that if he would lay a couple bunts down, maybe it opens up the shift a little bit more for him. And if that's the case, then maybe he has a little more success at the plate. But I think he stays a Cardinal the whole year.
I just like the fact of having on the bench because, you know, Chris and I have talked about this. We've seen it happen at least twice already this year. When he comes into the game, even if he's batting, you know, 100, you still have the feeling when you're sitting at home watching the game or in the stadium. You feel a lot better about Matt Carpenter. You feel like something might happen or could happen other than, you know, no offense to someone like a Sosa. You're like, oh, great, let's start walking to the exit as to where, you know, with Cardinal, you might say, well, you know, you never know if he gets into one. He can make something happen, and he's already made it happen this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Andy, one way you might see, you know, Carp leave the team, and I want to get your thoughts because a lot of questions here in the chat. People want to know the Cardinals are doing well. What kind of move do you see them making near the trade deadline?
Again, reinforcing the bullpen as the season goes on. Those bullpen arms, you know, they only have so many innings in them. They also put a cap on Reyes' inning. So I feel like once they reach that, then who's going to close? Are they going to turn over to Gallegos, or are they going to lift that inning number magically just going to go away? They can just let him keep throwing. And again, it would be nice to have maybe a better fourth outfielder. And maybe they had that in Fowler before they traded him. But, you know, just another bat. I think DeYoung, ever since he broke his wrist, he just isn't right at the shortstop. I know he'll have a 3 or 4 game stretch where he'll carry the team, but then he'll have a 10-game stretch where he's just almost nothing, looks lost. And then back to Carpenter. You can't blame Matt Carpenter for this. He had one hot month, and Mozeliak gave him that extension. So I really feel like that was totally unjustified. It was totally reactionary. And wow, he's got to Salsa, and he had all these home runs in every game and all this stuff. And here, let's give him an extension. And that was the issue. But
yeah, it's just a gamble, though, right, Andy? I mean, he plays well 2 years after that. And he's playing like he was when he got the extension. Then the Cardinals are the smartest front office in baseball. They snagged him at a hell of a deal, and just, you know, that's just the way the contracts work sometimes. I guess.
Yeah, his numbers were trending down, though. I mean, if you look at the past 3 years, he had that hot month, but his numbers have been trending in the wrong direction. So, I don't know. I still feel like that's probably a move that if you got a real answer from the front office, they would say, yeah, they're probably not a big fan of that.
So I know as far as moves that the Cardinals could make, you know, Russ put out an article of a pitcher, Brad Hand, that could be of interest for the Cardinals. I mean, you know, obviously I think Max Scherzer would be the national that we'd all like to see the Missouri boy come home. But that was a good piece that you wrote about Brad Hand maybe being somebody that Mozeliak and them look at bringing in.
Yeah, he's, you know, they signed him to a 1-year deal. So, in the worst teams not do anything. So I think he'd be very available by the trade deadline. I think they're going to need help. It'd be helpful if they could grab him before then, because I think their left-handed side of the bullpen, like I said earlier, I think they're in trouble there. So they need help there.
Yeah, I mean, Genesis Cabrera, I like what that kid's got, but it seems like, and maybe not just appearances, but the fact that Tyler Webb gets warmed up 8 days a week, it's kind of like the old, you know, Mike Matheny and Matt Bowman type of love affair. It's like you're going to him again. You're just going to run that arm into the ground. And Andrew Miller, I don't think, even if he comes back from this blister on his toe, that he's going to give you anything from the left side of the mound. So, yeah, a move like a Brad Hand, I think that would definitely help this team out. Kind of like what. Go ahead.
Chris, they don't have anyone else on the 40-man roster except some kid named Bernardo Flores. I mean, he's a lefty, but he has a 13 ERA in the major leagues. Not a lot of experience. So they need help if they're going to, if they're going to go, they're going to go anywhere. I think on the left-handed side.
Yeah, I think it's too soon for them to go to like a Liberatore or Thompson. They're going to let those guys stay down there and season up. But like Jared said, as far as moves, getting made, Brad, do you see anybody out there that the Cardinals might be kind of interested in that might get them a little bit over the hump as the season continues?
Man, I haven't actually really thought about that too much. I'm just kind of more focused on what they're doing now. What they usually do, they'll probably get a bullpen arm. I think a left-handed bullpen arm would be ideal, but I think they'll find somebody. Might be a righty. I don't know. Who that is, I couldn't tell you because there's a lot of season left to play. A lot of people are looking at the Nationals licking their chops right now, but I mean, don't forget that they were bottom dwellers early in the first half of the season when they won the World Series. So we don't know what's going to happen in the second half. So it's kind of, I don't know. To me, it's right now they need left-handed help from the bullpen. They need maybe another starter. That really just depends on how, Martinez or even Wainwright or whoever, how they hold up, right? And maybe if you get another starter, then you got that left-handed help in the bullpen if you move KK to the bullpen. So there's ways you can move around and kind of have this, but I don't see them moving KK to the bullpen unless you get like a Max Scherzer, and I don't know how you can get a Max Scherzer without giving up more than what the Cardinals would be willing to give up. But yeah, I think right now it's just too far in the future to kind of predict who it might be, because so much can change between now and then. So if they make a move, they'll probably pick up a bullpen arm, but they might do what they did last year and just stand pat.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, we've talked a lot about the Cardinals having this plethora of young arms, and whether that's guys like your Junior Fernandez or your Oviedo or Whitley, you've got so many arms in house, and then with the taxi squad that I don't see that going out and getting somebody unless it is somebody like a Brad Hand that is proven that is going to contribute right away. I don't think you need to go shopping for a stopgap type arm when the Cardinals do have so much young talent that they can slot into those spots. I mean, Helsley looks lights out at times. Gallegos looks great, but occasionally they get roughed up. And then when you've got guys like Ponce de Leon that they kind of thrusted into that starter role, and I think he kind of pitched his way out of it, and whether that's inflammation in his arm, it was inflation in his ERA ultimately that sent him down. But, Cowboy, what about you? You think there's any glaring holes that this team might need to address?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you guys. Previous commentary, there's a lot of proven history where the Cardinals don't do much, right? It was a long, drawn-out episode to get Arenado here, and so once they pulled that trigger, boy, that probably is taking care of us for the next 4 or 5 years. So they like to rely on their minor league system, and they've got enough arms down there that they could probably pull that off for a little while. It's just a matter of, are they going to start getting hot? I think as a team, if they can, as a communitively get hot, and if Schilt can lead them, then you're looking for that run at the end of the season, and that's when it really matters, and that's when it counts. So I don't see any big moves. They're just not known for that. They've kind of got enough spread around. Their biggest issue is the walks ratio. I think they're number one in walks. We talked about that a little bit. They're giving up the most on bases, the pass balls, hit by pitches, and so just giving away free passes. That'll they're talking about. I think it was around a quarter of those guys they put on base scored runs. Well, there you go. So if they can kind of hone in on that, I think Maddox is their pitching coach, and he can bring that in a little bit, get these guys focused, maybe send a couple of them down, give a couple of the other young whippersnappers a chance. I think Avedo's doing a good job. You've got Woodruff. Woodford, that's right, Woodford, and he's kind of come out of nowhere. I didn't follow him much, but you've got a number of arms out there, and they got to get focused. The biggest issue I have, and I saw it, the biggest problem I saw recently was when they had the hit by pitch that was obviously a foul ball. They wouldn't review it for whatever. Then they didn't turn around and bounce back from that, and that's a bad indication that if there's going to have other hurdles like that, I mean, that's life. And if they've got to learn to bounce back from that. I want to see somebody with a little fire. I want to see somebody get a little pissed off. I don't mind seeing a guy throw a helmet or throw a glove or throw a bat if it shows that they're in the game and they're serious, because a lot of these guys, they get their big salaries and they just kind of walk through it. And the Cardinals aren't known for giving those big salaries, but you just don't want to get complacent. So if they can turn it up and show a little fire, I think they could do this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jared, you got anything you want to send their way?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Russ first. But Russ, I want to ask you, we're talking about trade deadline moves, and we figure the Cardinals are going to make some kind of bullpen move. My opinion with the Cardinals is that they always seem to be a little hesitant to call up some of these guys that could make a potential impact on the team. But as far as left-handed pitchers, we've got Thompson, and we've got Liberatore that are already in AAA. How long does it take the Cardinals, you think, to call one of them up instead of making some kind of move? The answer could be down in AAA.
Yeah, I don't see them calling up, I think, Chris, Liberatore or Thompson. Maybe when they expand rosters, they'll bring them up and give them a chance. I think they're really committed to giving these guys a chance to develop, especially since we didn't have a minor league system season last year. So I think they're too valuable for them to try to bring up. If they're not ready, then send them back down. I really think they'll wait no sooner than the trade deadline. I just don't think I think they'll look for other ways to address that bullpen situation other than trying to bring those guys up before September.
Yeah, me personally, I feel like a lot of the troubles with the bullpen kind of started early on, even though the bullpen numbers overall are very good. I don't think the bullpen's really our main problem. I think the problem is still our starting rotation and the number of walks that we're giving out. Hopefully Mikolas comes back and does well, but we don't know at this point. We've seen Kim look okay, be pretty shaky. Gant obviously will not be in the rotation once Mikolas comes back, but how often, Andy, do you think they run through those arms before they decide that, hey, we need to make some kind of move here, maybe a call up to see what we have before we make some kind of trade and give away? Because, everyone says Max Scherzer, right, in Cardinals Nation, but we all know that's not going to be a cheap get.
Yeah, they don't want to start arbitration clocks with Liberatore or Thompson. That's what it comes down to. And, I think when Mikolas comes back, that'll probably shift Gant into a bullpen role. They've got a real quick hook on Kim this year. They do not want to let him get into games. As soon as he gets trouble, they're getting him out of the game. So maybe if he keeps pitching the short innings, maybe he does become the de facto other second left-handed arm. I know he prefers to start, but again, when he started as a reliever, so that might be what happens. But again, we still have, it's mid-May, 10 weeks till the trade deadline. So, there's still time to have those things fixed. And, Webb goes out there and retires the next 10 guys he faces, and all of a sudden it's a different song and dance next week. So, just have to see how it plays out. But
yeah, it could change at any time. And I think, Brad, what you were saying a minute ago is going to be key against the Pirates and the Cubs. You got to win those two games against the Pirates and look good against the Cubs. Winning division would be key at this point. But, we just said, we feel like we were just talking about spring training, 2 weeks ago. And then we said, oh, it's early. The season just started. It's early April. Now, really, by the time we go into tomorrow, it's going to be, May 18th. We're going to be, by the time they're done with the Cubs, we're going to be heading to the end of May. So, hopefully, that rotation with Mikolas coming back starts to be solidified. But what what would your be if you're the manager, Brad, tomorrow? What do you immediately do, or what do you put your focus on as far as where the team needs to improve?
Consistency. I think that's it. I think that's this team's biggest problem is they're either hot or they're cold. And it was with the hitting for the longest time, and you had consistency with pitching, and now you're kind of seeing that with the starting pitching, right? So at the beginning of the year, they weren't too hot; they were kind of cold. Then they got real hot, and they pitched really well, and this team was really good. And now, we've had two starts where it wasn't good, and I just kind of hope that they're not going into that, inconsistent up and down and up and down and up and down sort of thing, If I'm the manager, I'm telling guys to focus on staying within themselves and not trying to do too much and to trust their teammates. It's okay to take a pitch and then let the next guy knock you in. You don't have to hit a home run every at bat. Sometimes a base hit is good enough. That sort of thing. And kind of get my guys focused on being consistent, not so much as being the hero. So if I'm the manager, that's what I'm looking at. As far as the lineup goes, I don't know that there's much I would change with it. I think I would leave it alone. I don't know that there's any improvements you could make internally or even AAA wise. I think I can't really complain about what Schilt's doing. He's doing actually a pretty good job with what he has. My complaints with him are like whenever he leaves Ganton to bat and then takes him out the next inning. He doesn't get the out or the next two outs. It's like, oh, come on. You got to be able to do that. Of course, you got to remember he's got a plan when he does that. He's going to leave him in. He's going to come up to bat, and then he's going to come in and he's going to get two outs, and I'm going to bring this guy in. I do want to ask you guys this question, though. This is something that we were talking about, left-handed pitching. Is a left-handed arm out of the bullpen as important as it used to be with the three-batter minimum now? The left-handed specialist, to me, now has kind of changed form, right? Because you're not going to bring him in to face that one left-handed guy and then take him out. That guy's done. Your left-handed arm out of the bullpen now has to be able to get guys from both sides of the plate out. So if you stop and think about that, I think KK kind of fits that role, right? He can get lefties and righties out. Now, they need him as a starter, don't get me wrong. But if they would pick up a starter, he can fill that role. So, anyway, that's kind of where I'm at.
No, that's a good question. I would have to agree with you. The lefty bullpen arm is definitely not what it used to be. In the days of old, or days old for me, I'm going to say, like Tyler Johnson. And, we had, Scrabble and those guys where we pretty much had to have one or two of those left-handed guys. Our Choate, was serviceable for quite a while. We had a lot of those guys that seemed to do fairly well. Miller just hasn't been that guy. So I think having that guy's kind of went away. I kind of like it from a personal standpoint of just, throwing one in from time to time. Maybe you start an inning with someone like Cabrera if you've got a few lefties stacked in there together, or even a switch hitter just to kind of switch them to the other side of the plate to kind of give the delivery may throw them off a little bit. But I think, having the lefties, not probably the best. I think having one in the starting rotation makes more sense. So, Brad, yeah.
Brett Cecil might be available.
Hard no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loogie is dead, right? The left-handed one-out guy, the loogie. Yeah, that's no longer a thing in baseball. But the changing of the rules to get all the young kids interested in baseball to make it a 2 hour and 50-minute game instead of 2 hour 58. Thank you, Rob Manfred.
Yeah, and I just think, I know everyone says we need another pitcher, I know starting the clock, etc., but you're going to spend a lot more money if you go out and start making a bunch of trades, especially with everyone being in high demand that's going to be of any type of quality. Grant Hand would be a good one, but, then you look at maybe possibly, duplicating the Greg Holland thing, so I think the front office might be a little shy to go out and pay decent money, but I guess we'll see what happens. My whole take on it is, you have Thompson and Liberatore that are your top-ranked prospects. You have other guys like Parsons that have been more than serviceable. At what point do the Cardinals finally say, hey, let's take a look and see what some of these guys got? The Rays are good at it. some other teams are good about calling these guys up and letting them play early. It seems like, to me, my opinion, and Chris, we've talked about this, but Cardinal Cowboy, I feel like the Cardinals just take way too long before they actually call up some of these prospects to see what they can do. They're always just hell-bent on keep them down, let them pitch, we're not ready, let's let them pitch in the minor leagues and get their feet under them. I feel like they do that a little bit too much, and I would like to see them kind of, some of these guys that are more than capable and have good stuff, to try them out a little early.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they have gotten so used to having such a dynamite, minor league system that they've really developed since the early 1900s. They now kind of count on the fact that they can kind of bring those guys along. They're also kind of stick with a little bit of the nostalgic. Hey, we've got a guy who's proven, a guy who's been in the league for a while. We're going to stick with him a little bit longer. For some of the guys who are in the league, some of the guys that have been pitching for a while, and they don't cut bait as quickly as some of the other teams do. So, I mean, they've just never been a raucous, wild style management type, and so they kind of play it out. Historically, they've done okay. They've got 19, I think it's 19 National League titles, and they've got 11 World Championships. Second only to the Yankees. So that's just kind of been their method. And, bottom line for them and for all these teams is, where do you get a crowd like you get in St. Louis? In St. Louis, we get, an average before the COVID limitations, et cetera, of, 35, 40, 45,000 people at a game. Nobody else does that outside of L.A. and New York, right? And so they've got a formula that they don't want to break. They don't mind winning a World Series championship or getting to the playoffs, but it's all about getting that revenue brought in because of the what they can maintain to get 35, 45,000 fans in the stands every game, and they do a good job with it. I think the Cardinal Cowboy contributes to that a little bit. I bring more than I scare, hopefully, but we do have a lot of fun out there, and they let us do our thing. They let us fans participate, and so that's just going to be a matter of, are they putting a good product on the field? I think the announcers have something to do with that too, and they talk about it and explain. And so baseball fans in St. Louis are some of the most knowledgeable you'll find, and I think it has a little bit to do with the strategy of where we're at and how we manage our team here.
Yeah, Chris, and I'll swing it to you, then you can take the next one if you want. But you have Littleton and Thompson. Just my whole thing is, you're going to look for a good pitcher. Those guys are, top of the prospect list. You don't have to give up anyone to get rid of those guys. They can save money whenever they're already concerned about money. And then at the end of the year, if you need to make a pivot move, you're going to have a lot of money on the books. But you also probably want those guys to come out and pitch. Why they've got guys like Molina and Wainwright on the bench, because there's no guarantee they'll be here next year. But if you need a pitcher, you need a starter. That's just my thought process. Is we've got them. Everyone says we have a plethora of arms. What good does it do if we just keep trading for guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's, we've talked about that too quite a bit. You've got to see what you got in some of these guys. I mean, you can't just hold on to them and play the what-if game and package them in a deal, and then you get a reliever that, we have for a year or two that isn't productive. I say you keep riding guys like Oviedo and Woodford and Whitley. You see what you've got. Some of them might, their stock might skyrocket. Some of them, they might fizzle. But at the end of the day, you're giving them a chance to pitch and play, and you can see what you have in them, because I think it's only fair to some of these guys too, that you've invested this much time in, having them in your organization, drafting them, and give them a chance. I mean, a guy like Gomber, I hated to see go. I loved what we got in return, but I want to see some of these guys get an opportunity. So that pitching isn't something that, obviously, it's going to be something we'll need in the postseason. But I think right now in the season is when you ride your guys like Whitley and Woodford and Oviedo, and you just got to package pieces around, see where they fit, and go with what we have as far as the arms are concerned. Go ahead. Well, I don't want to keep what are you looking at me like that for? No, I don't want to keep these guys too long. This will be the last question I'll ask. I know it's probably an easy, least valuable player for you guys. I'm sure Matt Carpenter is probably at the list, but he might not be. I'll let each of you give, at this point in the season, who do you think is the least valuable Cardinal and your most valuable player? Because I think right now there's a case to be made for several that are carrying this team that might have been a surprise, whether that's Tommy Edmond or a young gun like Carlson, or it might be Arenado, Goldschmidt, Yachty. That's the ageless wonder. Just kind of want to get you guys' take on who you think the most valuable person right now in the Cardinals is, and if you want to give your least valuable, do that too. I'll start with you, Russ.
Oh, thank you. As far as the most valuable, for me, it'd be between Arenado and Edmonds. I would probably go with Arenado because it just seems like he's come through like we've expected him to. As far as the least valuable player, geez, I hate to say Carpenter because that's just that's shooting fish in the barrel there. I don't know. Maybe it's Miller, Andrew Miller. He just hasn't come through for us. So I'd go with Arenado's the most valuable and Andrew Miller's the least.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Andy, what do you got on that?
Yeah, most valuable player. I was leaning towards Yachty, but Kisner filled in so well when Yachty wasn't there, and his catching ERA is quite low. Not trying to take anything away from Yachty, he's the GOAT, right? You can't. Probably Arenado. I feel like Goldschmidt's going in a little bit. I mean, he's had some big hits, but his numbers probably aren't where he would want them to be. And full player. Probably Dexter Fowler, right? We're still paying him, so he's technically under payroll. he hasn't done a single thing for us. And then I have one award to include the MVPPP, the most valuable position pitcher. I might have added an. That's definitely Matt Carpenter, right? He has a 0 ERA, no runs. So he's definitely the most valuable position player pitcher. I think it's MVPPP.
He also leads the pitching staff in home runs as well.
Yeah, wait a minute. Andy, he's a lefty too, right?
I think he throws right-handed.
Did he throw right-handed?
Yeah, he throws right-handed.
Oh, well, hell, forget that.
Just think of prior years when he had to give everything he had to get the ball from third base to first. Yeah, has a hard time making.
The funny thing was when he hit that guy and then apologized to him, and I'm like, I'm sure it didn't hit. It was like 50 miles an hour.
I was the former Cub, right? Mr. Caratini.
Caratini, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Personal Services catcher himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologized. I'm like, I'm sure that didn't leave a dent. I think you're all right. But Brad, I'll ask you, least and most valuable Cardinal player at this point in the season.
Well, let's start with the most valuable one. To me, it's Tommy Edmond. He does it all, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he drove the taxi. So he's your leadoff hitter, right? He can play second base. He can play right field. He can play shortstop. I think without him, the offense doesn't get started. He starts it off, and we saw that in the Padres series. He slumped a little bit. The offense scuffled. Whenever he's going, he gets on. That puts pressure on the pitcher from the very get-go. So I think having him as your leadoff hitter is probably your most valuable player. He's the key that makes it all work. And I think if he would ever go down with an injury, there'd be a really big hole to fill in this team, and I don't know who they could fill it with. So that kind of brings me to my least valuable player. And this isn't a knock on him so much as it is they don't use him, is Edmundo Sosa, right? He hasn't really added anything to the team. It's not because he's bad. It's just because he's kind of on the bench. He doesn't pinch hit. He maybe sometimes comes in late for defensive substitutions. But like when DeYoung went down, they brought up Max Morhoff, and he got some starts, right? So that would be my least valuable player, and I don't mean that as mean. I just think he's underutilized. I don't think that they're using him enough. And if they're not using him, why not? Right? Maybe there's something about him that they don't like or something like that. But he just hasn't done anything that makes him a contributor to the team. So that's what I mean by least valuable. So that would be mine.
I agree with that. I was starting to wonder if Sosa was the bat boy there for a while because I'm just like, what are they waiting on to give him a chance to get some playing time? But Cowboy, what say you on least the most valuable player right now?
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to go by the stats, which that's you got to stick with Yachty. He's the guy who has done the most to do the most damage offensively. He's just been kind of your leader of the team, and just does everything they need as a leader to be your most valuable player. But I think probably the biggest surprise, a lot of people, I've heard the case for Arenado, but you kind of expected that from him. Somebody we didn't expect. He didn't hit so well. He's up and comer, but I think Dylan Carlson has kind of come out of nowhere to become. At a certain point, I believe he was leading the team in average. Or second behind Yachty when Yachty was out, and it made him the leader. But, yeah, I mean, when you've got a guy like Dylan Carlson coming out of nowhere and putting it on and hitting well and getting on base and scoring runs, I think that's a position right there that puts him in a nice place where you got to consider him, close to Yachty and Arenado. And, Goldschmidt's come around a little bit, but I think your top three are going to be Yachty, Carlson, and then Arenado right now. And Edmond doing a great job too. But, again, those are your top three. The worst player, I don't know if you count this as a worst player, but I think Manfred has done enough to demonize baseball and just decision after decision and kind of the way they've handled all of the transition with the COVID and now the DH and just the way they're managing the games now with the timing and man, just let them play. Go back to the old school. Get a guy like where's Bud Selig when you need him. But I think, when it comes down to it, that's somebody who's done the most detriment to the sport thus far. Hopefully he can get his head on straight and get this going. The stands will start to get filled up here. I think they're going to open that up and get they got packed capacities out of a number of stadiums. The Cardinals, starting with the Cubs series, I think are going to be up to 60%, 64%, about 30,000 people. But, yeah, those are your guys that are really impacting the game. I think, you got to throw some at Carpenter because he just hasn't done much, and I don't know anybody that can stick around the league hitting 122 or 111 right now, I think. But they did what they did with Pujols. How long they had to scare Carpenter a little bit, but when it comes down to it, this team has got what it takes. It's just a matter of they can pull through, and they're going to be led by Yachty. He's going to be your main player, I think, and it's just a matter of time to see if he can hold on for another long season without too much injury. A short stint on the IL, they call that now instead of the DL, but. If Yachty can keep leading, Dylan Carlson and Arenado, those three guys can make your squad and put Cardinals in position to win this, at least the division, and then certainly the National League, and hopefully pull off another World Series title. Our camera shot, we got multiple cameras here, but we get our trophy here and get it going. So that's what I do. Hey, guys, thanks. I appreciate you guys allowing me to be on your show here. I've been watching the show. I've been following you guys forever. And Cardinals 24/7 does a great job, man. Cardinals Nation 24/7 does a great job. Appreciate all your work. I think you're up to like 40,000 fans in the group there, too. So good work.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Jared, I'll hit you up with that same question, and then I'll answer it. And if we want to bring it home, we'll go ahead. But who do you have right now as your most valuable and least valuable Cardinal?
I gotta agree with Brad. Tommy Edmond. I think everyone was so worried about Colton Wong being gone. And would Edmond, would that transition from a couple years ago his offense? But I think he's proven that his defenses look really good. But I can't even remember the most recent stats because I was awkward with no power this whole weekend. But they talk about his stats all the time of how, when he gets on base or he scores a run, the Cardinals are pretty much shoe in to win. So, I mean, that's as Tommy Edmond goes, you said about Fowler with the Cubs, as Edmond goes, it seems like we do as well. But I'm going to go off of the least value. I'm going to go off people that we're expecting to do well and haven't been. And I'll probably get a little flack for this, but I'm going to go with both of the Pauls. I think Goldschmidt and DeYoung, I was counting on them to perform a little better. I thought DeYoung would be, before he got hurt, was going to come into his own a little more. I know some of his numbers are a little deceiving. He's not as bad as his batting average has indicated, but I thought with, Edmond, Goldschmidt, and Molina doing well, that it would kind of take some pressure off of him, and we were going to see him maybe potentially, as you and I had talked, have a breakout season. And Goldschmidt this year, too, I know he gets hotter when it heats up, but same thing for him. He's struck out a lot, and he struck out a lot on fastballs, pitches down the middle that just kind of throws me off, and I'm not expecting. So, I don't think I'm not saying he's having a horrible year and get rid of him, obviously, but I thought those two guys were going to come in a little more. But guys like Edmond and Carlson and Molina, has picked up the pace, so it hasn't been noticeable, and that's the key to this year. Bader has always been a target, and Fowler and Carp and some of these other guys. But if you look down our lineup, a lot of the guys in our batting order are doing pretty well. So, when you have guys like, and he's not this year, he's actually not doing too bad, but Bader or someone that's batting, 200 or less, there's more of an emphasis on it. Everyone's saying, trade this guy, get rid of him, because we can't have 4 or 5 people playing that way. But up and down the order, we look a lot better than we have in a long time. And hopefully it all just starts clicking. I think we can only get better from here. Pitching just needs to be more consistent, like Andy and Brad were saying earlier too, and cut down on the walks. And it doesn't matter how bad if the offense doesn't score. If we can't let people score 5 and 6 runs, give them all these free passes. But that's my take. Tommy Edmond, my MVP, and the 2 Pauls are my duds.
But that all makes sense, and if I were to say at least valuable, and I could go with Sosa because he hasn't really brought much to the table, hasn't really been given much opportunity to. Carpenter's just the easy target, on saying least valuable, especially on what he's making this season. But I would probably go with Andrew Miller, because you're paying him a good chunk of money too for very little work, and what work he has had hasn't been very productive either. So that would probably be my least valuable. Most valuable, I'll probably go Tommy Edmond too, but I really would consider giving Jack Flaherty that nod, because you take him out of this rotation and you're really looking at some guys that we already have guys barely getting through 5 innings. And I know Jack's pitch count gets up sometimes, but he's the one kind of carrying this rotation too, of having lights out stuff and being able to give you a chance to win every game. I know Wainwright gives you a chance to win too, but it does seem like Jack Flaherty, when he takes the mound, he does over pitch at times and has a lot of finesse. But I'll go with Tommy Edmond because I think he had some big shoes to fill coming in. Everybody was hell-bent that Colton Long leaving was the end of the world. I would have liked to seen them bring him back just because of all the Gold Glove potential and not knowing what Tommy Edmond was going to bring to the table. But the way that he's getting on base at a high rate, he's able to steal bases, spray the ball to all fields, has some power, and has turned into the prototypical leadoff guy that really the Cardinals have needed for quite some time. So that would be my 2 picks.
Yeah, Chris. Do you want to tell everybody real quick, as the old Cowboy friend of ours was saying recently, you want to give everyone an update on the Cardinals Nation 24/7 real quick, and then we'll go, I guess, around and we'll get everybody's contact information and where they can be found.
Yeah, here recently, it's been great that we started this YouTube channel with the podcast in February, and we're up to 850 subscribers, and according to, looking on Google, it takes some people up to a year or 2 to reach that. So, we're really proud that so many people have tuned in and subscribed and liking the content that we're putting out. And people can also find that on audio podcasts that are available out there too. But as far as the Facebook page, we've hit 65,000 followers on our Facebook page. That's unreal. We share a lot of content there, like Russ's work from Redbird Rants, and anything that you guys put out content wise, we try to share that out on the page, to help it get viewed and listened to. The Facebook group, which is totally different beast. I mean, that's more the fan forum where a lot of fans vent their frustrations constantly. But in a short time, we're already up to 41,000 members. It's just unreal. I mean, we started this thing 5 years ago, the page and the group, just to kind of have both avenues, a place to share content to, but also a place to let fans voice their opinions. And we've met some great people like all you guys that we've had on tonight, and a lot of fans from all across the world we wouldn't know otherwise. It's really cool to share fandom with so many different people that all have different takes and opinions. Not always the popular opinion, but that's what makes Cardinal baseball fun and sharing fandom. So it's cool to see it grow at the rate that it has, and for y'all to be a part of it. We appreciate all that.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Russ, thanks so much for joining us. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and your contact information, basically?
Yeah, listen, I appreciate being asked to do this, and I blog over at Redbird Rants. Check that out if you haven't. There's a lot of other good writers over there who's putting out good stuff. You guys had Matt Graves on here not too long ago. He's really good at what he does. I'm on Twitter as Uncle Frank, FR Robinson 1957, and you can find me mulling around the Cards 247 Facebook group. So that's where you can contact me at.
Yeah, we appreciate it. You do a great job, and we do appreciate the content. We're happy to share it for you. Cardinal Cowboy, you want to let everybody know where they can find you and your contact information, where they can see more giddy ups and yeehaws?
Yeah.
I can find him at Busch Stadium stealing this trophy.
Yeah. Well, I used to have the Cardinal Cowboy fan page, got into a disagreement with Facebook, so they shut that down. But we started it up again just as the Cowboy, or R Cowboy, OUR, cowboysfacebook.com/OUR Cowboy. Almost got that up to 700 likes already, but we've got 40, 50,000 views on that going as it is right now. So we hope that continues to grow, and that's the easiest place to get it. I also have cardinalcowboy.com is my Facebook, and there's my Instagram, which is Cardinal Cowboy. Also, you guys can get a hold of me, and I'll talk anything you guys want, as long as it's something positive to help our community. A lot of people do know my story, that I was up and coming prospect, had won the same award as David Freese and Ryan Howard a little before those guys did, and ended up being in a coma caused by a drunk driver. So that's where my method is, and I visit kids at schools and hospitals and all over the place to try to encourage them, because I think baseball gave me the skills to get out of that and come through that coma. So check me out on cardinalcowboy.com, and I can help you guys. Anything you got positive in St. Louis, I'll do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, and thanks for joining us. Brad, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you when you're not teaming up with America's greatest heroes to fight crime?
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Twitter at RangeBrad. That's where I'm most active. Also, you can get a hold of me on Facebook in our Facebook group, facebook.com/TheUsualSuspects. That's where most of our content is. We've had some time off here recently. Aaron's in a transition period in his life. He's at that age where he's moving out and getting his own place and doing that sort of thing. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's juggling a lot of things. So he doesn't have a whole lot of free time. We're trying to get content back. We're trying to get ourselves, out there again. I'd love to start streaming again, and hopefully we can get our Facebook page going, and then we also have a YouTube page. If you just search The Usual Suspects on YouTube, you can find us there. Right now it's just some old content, but we're going to be putting some stuff out there, hopefully in the not too distant future, on that page as well. So, and then I think you can follow The Usual Suspects on Twitter at usual_suspects, I think is what it is.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get it right so we can put it in the description. We'll load this to our YouTube channel also as soon as we're done here. And Andy, sir, I like the wall behind you there. It's pretty impressive. I like that. I thought maybe you saw a video or whatever trying to one up me or something. And then Cardinal Cowboy has come in with his damn 97-inch back there. But Andy, where can everybody find you at, sir?
Yeah, so I'm Cardinals off the cuff, and I'm just kind of starting out doing this. I had kind of written and did some stuff for another website previously. I'm also very busy. I have a 7-year-old son, Gibson. I was playing baseball and soccer and all that kind of stuff. Not named after Kirk Gibson, but so I'm definitely a busy father and all that. But I'm also doing stuff along with Interstate 70 Sports Media. But probably best place to find me is Cardinals Off the Cuff on Facebook. And again, I'm always hopping on the 24/7 website and sharing whatever I have and pushing it out there for whoever wants to see it. But like and subscribe, and keep out there and keep producing for you guys.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Chris puts his heart and soul into this stuff. You guys, as you guys know, he spends a lot of time and effort on this, and our growth and success. Whenever he asked me a long time ago to jump on with him, I'd be stupid to say no. But I've been riding his back this whole time, so it's been easy for me. Our YouTube page has been taking off great. We're just short of like 900 already in like just a couple months period, and they tell us it should take like 2 years to get where we are now if you look at the numbers. But Chris does a great job. Chris, we appreciate it. And we appreciate all you guys for joining us. You know, he wanted to find a place where everybody could go share all their content. And, you know, even sometimes me, I'll admit I've been devil's advocate. Certain people will say, hey, what are we sharing this? Well, I want everyone to share their stuff. You know, he's a nice guy or an idiot.
Both. I'm the first to admit it. But no, I mean, all you guys, I appreciate all your contributions that you do on your individual stuff. Just as far as the Cardinal community in general, it's really neat. Like I said, to share fandom with so many people in a group, but you guys bring something totally different to the table too. Not your average fans. You guys really put a passion towards your craft and what you do, whether it's writing or podcasting or, you know, anything you do, you know, so it's greatly appreciated. And that's, again, why we started doing what we do is just another forum out there to help people get, you know, recognized, because your work's appreciated. We appreciate having you.
You're so sweet. Yeah. Everyone, thanks for joining us on Conversation with the Nation. This will be on Facebook. We'll release it on YouTube. I'm sure Chris will get it to you guys. To everybody that was watching prior or now or jumped in and out, we do appreciate you guys jumping in. We'll be back in about another month. We'll put that time out. In the meantime, we put out our weekly podcast, which we'll be doing tomorrow. And I guess that's it for us. I saw you guys, you know, Pools is going to be number 55. It's just going to look so goofy. A blue uniform, he's going to wear number 55. It looks
not right.
It's going to be stupid.
Yeah,
I'm writing a letter.
A strongly worded email.
Yeah. And then I ask you guys to retype it so it looks better and put it on your format.
That was his favorite interstate in Missouri.
Yeah.
That's 55.
It's true. Well, yeah.
That's how old he really is.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
I had to do it. Had to.
There's no 70.
You said that's how old he really is? I didn't get the first part.
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, boy. That's all I have, Chris.
No, that's it. You know, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, everybody go Cards.
Go Cards.
Giddy up. Thanks, guys.
Good one. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That was awesome. Good stuff, guys.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Brad.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you. I'm going to close out my show now. We've streamed this for you. Giddy up.
See you, Cardinal.
Giddy up.
Giddy up.
Yep. See you later.
All right, everybody. So you guys have listened to
Thanks,
the
Andy.
Cardinal Cowboy Show. We're streaming live the Cardinals Nation's 24/7 live stream on their YouTube, as you can see here on the screen behind me. So check it out in the future. This is some cool stuff these guys have put together. Huge following already, and just a great group of guys. It really, if you love Cardinals, you love Cardinal baseball, this is the group to be part of. And they've put together a heck of a stream and a following, and just, you know, 150,000 people total fans that follow these guys. So if you're looking for Cardinals related stuff where you can engage with the community and see what's going on with the fans, Chris and those guys have put together just something that's awesome, and we hope to help support it and promote it, and appreciate them having the Cardinal Cowboy on today as a guest through the Cardinal Cowboy Show here on their live stream that is now recorded. We're live streaming and we're recording on our YouTube also. So there's those guys right there, Cardinals Nation 24/7, and the Cardinal Cowboy right here tuning in for you guys. So keep it up, and we'll see you guys again soon. And as always, let's go Cardinals. All right, giddy up, everybody. Go Birds. We got this.